And rapper Lil Durk has been arrested and charged with a murder-for-hire plot. The Chicago native, whose real name is Durk Banks, was arrested in Florida by the U.S. Marshals Service. The 32-year-old's arrest comes as 5 other people in Chicago were arrested in connection with the investigation. According to the complaint, Banks and his co-conspirators allegedly worked together to, quote, track, stalk, and attempt to murder a target at a Los Angeles gas station, firing at least 18 rounds into the person's vehicle, striking and killing a passenger in the car. Banks made his first court appearance this afternoon in Miami. Banks' lawyer asked for privacy after leaving court, telling ABC, quote, "We will not be commenting at this time." I want to bring in ABC News contributor and Sirius XM radio host Mike Muse and ABC News contributor and criminal defense attorney Shauna Lloyd for more on all of this. And Shauna, I want to start with you on this. The charges against these men include conspiracy to commit murder for hire and use of a machine gun in a violent crime resulting in a death. The most serious charge carries up to the death penalty if convicted. So, I mean, I know it's early, but how do you see this playing out?
You know, Alex, this is a very serious charge. Conspiracy is one of those charges that all it takes is voluntary knowledge. So as long as you had any conversation with 2 or more about something, a plan to further this plot for hire, and it resulted in a death, you are looking at those either life imprisonment and up to the death penalty. So it does not take a lot to be convicted of conspiracy charges. Now, they do have to show that he was voluntarily a part of this conspiracy, and they're going to have to show that he knew what the end goal of the conspiracy is. And so that's the burden. But conspiracy does not take as much as other charges. So this is a very serious crime.
Mike, you know, one of the things that strikes me about this is Durk has long touted himself as the voice, especially from Chicago. He's noted his connection to the trenches, but also he's had a kind of a stellar 2024, appearing on some hit TV shows and new music on the way. He just celebrated a birthday. So I'm curious. I mean, how is the music and entertainment world processing this news? I mean, that had to be a huge shock.
Yeah, it was very much a huge shock, and particularly coming off the Grammys when he had the song All My Life with J. Cole, which is pretty much one of his biggest singles that he's had to date, that had incredible commercial success. Lil Durk is part of what is called the drill movement in Chicago, and so every region in the United States has a different sound when it comes to hip hop. And so Lil Durk was really at the forefront of the drill music, which is controversial. It is very rooted in gang culture. I don't think any of us involved in the music industry, entertainment industry, realized that Lil Durk would actually have the capability to send out and put out a hit. This was a retaliation to another popular rapper in the drill genre of music, King Von. And so this was to enact revenge against the murder of King Von. What this goes to, though, Alex, is a larger conversation that we need to be having in America is how do we address gang culture, and then how do we address the violence that precipitates within particular urban communities. Every time we have a death or a murder such as this is when we need to be thinking about gun reform, gun legislation, and how much guns are on the streets, in particular within Chicago, which has a complicated dynamic with guns because of the bordering states that they have in terms of how the other states that surround Illinois have very loose gun restriction laws and the way that guns can flow into cities like Chicago. And so I think moments like this gives us an opportunity to address how are we going to tackle the growing issue of violence within our cities, how are we going to tackle gun violence and gun reform, and then how are we going to tackle the gang culture that exists in our major cities.
Well, and Shauna, one more here, because you mentioned conspiracy earlier. How might prosecutors be looking at this OTF group that Durk was a part of? I mean, are we going to see some repeats of what happened in the YS, or what's happening in the YSL case?
Well, this one's going to be a little different because even when we look at the indictment, they already have text messages, which tends to lead me to the information that there may have been an informant because they got this information very quickly. Let's remember these arrests just happened. So they would have had to get these phone records. So if they have a direct source, we're going to see this move a lot more quickly. It cites text messages and phone calls where we can see the exact communications. So they have direct evidence already that's going to move this a lot more quickly than what we see in the YSL trial.
Gotcha. Okay. Mike Muse and Shauna Lloyd, thank you both.